Welcome to my frequency distribution day 2 classwork video. So what you had to do here is read the information up here to complete the frequency, finish the cumulative frequency, and answer some questions. So as I read above, it tells me that 9 people chose reading. And for the first line, that's always going to be the cumulative frequency. For biking, it told me there were 2. So that means the cumulative frequency would be 11 because you have 9 from reading and 2 from biking. So that's so far 11 people. And then skateboarding, it told me above was 4. So that's how we got 15 here. And finally, video games were 5 people. And if we were already at 15, that means we're now at 20. And the final cumulative frequency tells me the total number, in this case, students surveyed. So it would be 20. The number that chose reading was 9. And to get a percent, I can write the chances of, or the fraction of people who chose reading. So that would be 9 out of 20. And I could just change this to a decimal and then a percent, but I want to review percent proportions. So we're going to put x over 100, because when we set up a percent proportion, we put x over 100. So now we use our cross products. 20 times x is 20x, and 9 times 100 is 900. We divide both sides by 20, and we get 45%. That's just my dog barking in the background. So 45% of the students chose reading. Okay, now we have to use another set of information for questions 4 through 6. So it said 20 students were asked to name their favorite type of book. How many students chose a book other than mystery? So I have to count them all up. So I'm looking at these here, and that would give me 11. What percent chose adventure? I see that there's 7, and I know there's 20. So instead of showing you a percent proportion here, I'm going to show you the decimal method, because I said you could also use that. So 7 divided by 20 would give me 0.35, and I can slide it 2 to the right, and that will give me the percent, 35%. Okay, which statement is true here? More than half of the students chose mystery or romance. Well, if I add mystery plus romance, I get 12. Well, I know there were 20 students who were asked to name their favorite type of books, so that would be half of 20 would be 10. So is 12 more than 10? It sure is. So best choice is A. Okay, moving to the back page here. It said how many people could name 21 to 30 presidents. I will look right here at the frequency, and it says 26. What percent of those students surveyed were able to name 11 to 20 presidents? So I have 40. And I always have to put it over the total. So I have to add up all these people. So when I add up all those people, I get 200. So once again, I can use the decimal method or the percent proportion. I'm going to go back to the percent proportion to review proportions. 200 times x is 200x, and 40 times 100 would be 4,000. Divide by 200, and I get 20%. How many of those surveyed were able to name more than 20 presidents? So more than 20 would be these two right here, and 26 plus 14 is 40. Okay, let's look at the last section here. It said 20 students recently took the Math SGA, so we had to complete a frequency distribution. So we just count all the numbers from 91 to 100, and we should have counted 9. So the frequency would be 9. The cumulative frequency would also be 9. Okay. 81 to 90 should have counted 6 tallies, which would give me a frequency of 6. And now my cumulative frequency would be 15, because I already had 9, and 6 more would be 15. 71 to 80 would be 3 tallies, giving me a frequency of 3. And 15 plus 3 is 18. And then 61 to 70, I have 2 tallies, giving me a frequency of 2. And that gives me a cumulative frequency of 20. So that means I have 20 student scores, and I can verify that up here. Okay, it says what percent of students scored in the interval range of 81 to 90? So I see that it's, whoops, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. I see that it's 6, and 6 out of 20. Okay, I'm going to use the decimal method, so 6 divided by 20, and my calculator would give me 0.3, and then 1, 2 to the right is 30%. And if you use the percent proportion, it would give you the same thing. Okay, 61 to 80, so I have to count the last two. So let me show you here, even though my numbers are gone. 61 to 80 would be these two here. Okay, so I have to look at these frequencies, which I had 3 and 2. So 3 plus 2 is 5 out of 20. 5 divided by 20 is 0.25, which would give me 25%. Okay, how many students scored at least 71? That means 71 or more. Now, this is a little bit tricky because we're going backwards here. So we have to count all 3 of those. So I had 3, and then remember this one was 6 and 9. So that adds up to 18. Okay, it says, letter D, what percent of students scored a 90 or below? So this one, or actually these 3, would be 91 or below. So that would be 6 plus 3 plus 2, which would give me 11 out of 20. Decimal would be 55 hundredths. The percent would be 55%. And finally, question E, it said what interval range did most students score? So I'm looking for the biggest frequency, which would be this one right here, which would be 91 to 100. So letter E was 91 to 100. Okay, that concludes our frequency distribution day 2 classwork video. I hope you have a great day.